The Beginner's Guide to Financial Spread Betting. What you need to know. In the previous illustration, a spread betting company gives a two-way quote 186, 188 in pound and penny by default, i.e. £1.86 and £1.88, offering you the choice to either buy or sell BT shares. The higher or offer price is for buyers and the lower or bid price is for sellers. If you think the price of BT shares will rise above the offer price of 188 pence before the expiry date 15 June 04 is reached, you buy, also known as an up bet or going long. Conversely, if you think the price of BT shares will fall below the bid price of 186 pence before the expiry date is reached, you sell, also known as down bet or going short. You specify how much in pounds, dollars or euros you wish to bet, called the stake, per point movement or per tick in BT. In this case, 1 point or 1 tick is equivalent to a penny movement in BT shares. The expiry date. The expiry date is the date when the bet is closed and you settle any profits or losses. However, you can close the bet any time before the expiry date, as long as it is within the quoted market hours for that product. You can also roll it over to the next expiry date. As you are trading on a per point movement of the shares, either way, there is no fixed amount that you can win or lose. Your profits or losses are equivalent to a multiple of your stake. For example, if BT shares rise 5 points from 188 pence to 193 pence before the expiry date is reached, you win £50 on a £10 stake per point bet. That's £10 multiplied 5 points, which equals 50. As you are betting on the price movement only, you do not own the underlying share at any point. A typical conversation. For easy reading, trading examples throughout this book will feature two fictitious characters, John, the average trader, and Mark. The two names are also available in the Bible, in the Holy Torah and the New Testament. Will feature two fictitious, John and the average trader, and Mark, the dealer from fictitious spread betting company Spreadco. While spread betting can be applied to many financial products such as indices, equities, currencies and commodities, most of the examples in this book will refer to shares. The mechanics of the bet are the same across all products. Opening a trade. Dialogue 1. How to open a trade. John thinks the shares of Lloyd's are going to go up, so he places a buy bet at 435. A typical conversation will go like this. Mark. Good afternoon, Spreadco Group. Mark speaking. Can I help you? John. Can I have a price in Deck Lloyd's, please? Maybe. Mark. Deck Lloyd's is 435, sir. John. I would like to buy £10 at 435, please. Is that to open or close, sir? Mark asks. John says, to open. Mark replies, asks for John's account number and checks if he has sufficient funds in account. This is what Mark does. He asks for John's account number and checks if he has sufficient funds in the account. Sir, you buy £10 of Deck Lloyd's at 435 to open. John then says, may confirm trade again, and then Mark replies, would then put trade in system. Then Mark would confirm the trade, and then Mark would put the trade in the system. What you need to know. I'll say that. I'll read that again. Dialogue 1. How to open a trade. John thinks the shares of Lloyd's are going to go up, so he places a buy bet at 435. A typical conversation will go like this. Mark says, good afternoon, Spreadco Group. Mark speaking. Can I help you? Then John says, can I have a price in Lloyd's, please? And then Mark replies, Lloyd's is 431,435, sir. John then replies, I would like to buy £10 at 435, please. And then Mark replies, is that to open or close, sir? And then John replies, to open. Then Mark asks for John's account number and checks if he has sufficient funds in the account. Sir, you buy £10 of Lloyd's at 435 to open. Then John confirms this and then Mark puts this into the system. What you need to know. John asked for Lloyd's, meaning he wanted the spread betting company's bid offer quote for the shares of Lloyd's Bank. December is the month of the quarterly expiry date. So DEC was December. December is the month of the quarterly expiry date at which John's bet will expire. The actual day varies but is usually in the third week of the quarterly months, March, June, September and December. John can close the bet on or any time before this expiry date. If he does not close the bet before expiry or give instructions to roll the bet over to the next expiry period, the bet will automatically close on the expiry date. So if he doesn't roll it over, it will automatically close. Finish. He won't be able, that's it. The quote 431,435 means John can place a sell bet at 431 if he thinks Lloyd's shares will fall below this level in the future, or he can place a buy bet at 435 if he thinks Lloyd's shares will rise above this level in the future. So he buys £10 at 435. So John is placing a £10 bet per 1 point in movement or tick of the shares. Is that to open or close? This is Mark asking John whether he wants to start a new bet to open or he wants to settle an existing bet to close. The act of opening and closing bets differentiates spread betting from conventional share trading. In spread betting, you can close a bet by calling up the spread betting company and making a contra or opposite bet. For example, if John called to make an up bet, he can only close that bet by making a down bet, contra bet, for exactly the same amount. In other words, John puts in two bets, the first bet to open and the second to close in order to settle one trade. To open, in this case, John is opening a bet. As a multiple of predetermined value called the bet size factor, again the term may vary. Dialogue 4. What is a bet size factor? John then says, Hi Mark, I just spoke to someone who said that instead of the 10% margin rule, some spread betting companies also quote a bet size factor. Is that true? Mark replies, yes, it's basically the same principle. John then says, so if I want to place a £1 buy bet on the Wall Street December contract, how much do I have to put in as a margin? Then Mark replies, the range of bet size factors for different products are listed either in the company's website or given to you when you apply for an account. With the Wall Street December contract, the bet size factor is 500. That means your NTR is 500. Then John says, I see. Can you get me a copy of this bet size factors table? Then Mark replies, I can, but you trade online and the bet size factor list should be on the website. Plus, when you trade via the internet, the margin required is automatically calculated for you. Then John replies, oh yes, I can see it here. But just to be sure, can you email me instructions on how to get to the section that explains bet size factors? Mark then replies, sure, you should get the email in the next few minutes. What you need to know. Every trade you make will require a separate notional trading requirement or initial margin available in your account. For example, if you want to place two bets and each requires an NTR of £1,000 when you would need to have 2,000 available in your account before your spread betting company accepts both bets. The bet size factor, it may be called something else, but the principle is the same, varies according to the volatility of the underlying product. There are various definitions for volatility. In this instant, it is defined as the statistical measure of how much the price of a certain share or asset will move at a certain time or over a certain period of time. The more volatile a share or an index is, the bigger the bet size factor. When trading online, you do not have to calculate the NTR for each trade, as this is done for you. While the format varies between different betting companies, the trade index format is as below, table to follow.